Welcome to the HR Uprising podcast. This podcast series explores HR hot topics and challenges through conversations with relevant experts and real-life HR, learning, and OD professionals. The HR Uprising is about learning through collaboration and evidence-based action. We want colleagues to have the confidence and skills to rise up through their organizations by delivering real, lasting business value. Now, introducing your host, chartered psychologist, experienced change agent, entrepreneur, speaker, and coach, Lucinda Carney.
Hi there, it's Lucinda Carney from the HR Uprising podcast. And this week we've got one of our Real HR episodes. I'm delighted that I've got Anette Nance with me today. Now, Annette's got a fantastically interesting background that not many of us have got. She's actually a veteran, but I'm going to let her tell us all about this. And also, she's taken her skills in a variety of ways. She's been qualified recently in psychology, and she specialises in career coaching as well. So when we spoke to Annette, we thought she would be a really great example of someone who's got an inspiring background in terms of our Real HR series. So Annette, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me. I truly appreciate it and giving me the platform to just kind of tell my story. So like you said, I am a veteran. I was in the Marine Corps active duty for 8 years. It kind of feels like it flew by. A lot of experiences. During that time, I was a part of Operation Enduring Freedom. We were in Bahrain. And so through that, my main job was admin. And through admin, I did a lot of things that specialized in career planning for folks, also resources when it came to like their benefits for their spouses and understanding different benefits with pay, a lot of records management, because no matter anything, we need to always keep our records, good for documentation and such. And so that's been, there's a lot of words for my 8 years, but that was what I did then. And then once I got out in 2018, I started grad school at the University of Pittsburgh. And that is my master's in social work with a concentration in community organization and social action.
So the role that you did, you described it as admin, but you were out there in Bahrain, were you? And so it sounds like it was a level of HR in the military. Was that right?
Yeah, that definitely, because a lot of the work that we did centered around the person, understanding what is it the person needed documentation wise, making sure we had our counts, ensuring that we knew where everyone was. So it's like inventory of people and inventory of resources, understanding all of that. So when it is time for you to report to whoever is in your leadership, you know where everyone is, you understand what needs. So say, for example, while we are out there in Bahrain, someone has a family member pass away, there's a proper protocol and paperwork that needs to be done for that person, that member, to be sent back home to ensure that they understand what's going to happen to their pay or what's going to happen time-wise, because it is also a different time zone, Bahrain for the US. So that was one of the things that we had to deal with, or even while you were there, you're sending out different people to different detachments. So still understanding where they are. A lot of the admin was very different there since, you don't have all the usual amenities that you have in an office, say a printer. Everybody maybe has like one printer and like you're fighting over the one printer in the sense of trying to ensure you're printing everything. Or even you just don't have as much technology as you would, and internet is not as, you take advantage of what you have in the States. So when you go to a different country in a different location on a training base, especially with all the other people that are there, everything, the resources are a little scarce. It's not like there's a bunch of printers, there's a lot of Wi-Fi. There were like these little egg pods we had to be able to do the things that we needed to do.
So were you doing much more face-to-face stuff then? Did you find you had to communicate differently compared to in a sort of non-military environment?
Yeah, so it was really, it wasn't the same. As in, if we were back in the States, we would just kind of pick up the phone. Hey, can you bring so-and-so from this department to come up? Now you're kind of literally, you have to go send a person to go find if they're in this work area and see if they're there. If not, what shift are they working? And you're like, what time is it? If you don't have on a watch or if you don't have a clock in your office, you're really going to kind of set yourself up for failure. I think sometimes we did have like walkie talkies, but other times we were more so a face to face kind of like, hey, you go find XY person to tell them to be here at this time. Because, like I said, not everyone had laptops, so you can't just send the email and the person's going to receive it.
So I guess I can see that was quite, an experience, if you like. So you served 8 years there, and then you came out. Did you study and are you working in private sector? What have you been doing recently?
So while I was studying for my graduate degree at the University of Pittsburgh, I was also doing work in the community. And some of the community work they have you do alongside the program is I was assisting with case management and a lot of the outward facing initiatives for the Manufacturing Assistance Center, a part of the university. And so what they do is offer different courses related to manufacturing in a sense. So the basic, the advanced, and even more advanced. And so essentially through the program, when you're helping the different individuals, is that they're able to then get a job for about $15 or $19 an hour. And most of the population that I assisted with were previously incarcerated. So that was a new experience for me in understanding what does it look like and how do I utilize my social work lens and keep in line with my code of ethics.
Right, so you've been studying and then you've been helping to redeploy people, not necessarily veterans, but people who've been in prison. That's what your role's been recently?
Yeah, that's what I was doing there. And so through that, a lot of my skills in the sense of organization came into play because no one had done that role before. There was like, how can we utilize social work and how can we utilize just kind of the people skills in this manner? And so we were able to just kind of start to think about what this could look like, how we could put this together, and working with the staff, being in the staff meetings, understanding what my role was and understanding where I fell in that. It was definitely a really great experience that allowed me to continue to learn. And even being in Pittsburgh, I'm not originally from here, but every day I say that I continue to learn something new of a neighborhood or a person or, things like that.
So in terms of your the people that you've been working with, would you see there are specific differences between when you've been working as veterans or if you're bringing people back from incarceration, or would you see that there's any specific skills you as a people professional have needed to use, or is it the same as regular private sector workers?
So I would say that with a veteran, they are calculated in the sense of they know that they're coming out, they have skills, but the problem begins with translation of skills. If I were a sergeant who was in and I was managing a unit or a platoon or whatever of X amount of people, how do I now tell my civilian employer that I have leadership skills? How do I now tell them I have management skills? And understanding that your time in is definitely like the time you were in is definitely something that adds to that, because most people your age are not in leadership positions to do half of the work that you've done. So what does that look like? Because, there's a lot of leadership programs. They're telling you what to do, how to do it. But the problem becomes if you do not implement the skills, then you will not grow the skills.
So are you saying then that often the veterans have had the real experience of leadership? They've got the experience, but they need to work out how to communicate the theory or apply it. And with your civilians, that they may know the theory, but they haven't got the experience. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I tend to see sometimes, especially if you're younger. So for myself, I'm 28. I'll be 29 in a couple of weeks. Most people I know at my age are not doing a lot of the things in leadership in this manner. They're not, because when you're leading people in the military, it's a little bit of life and death. So you can't really get it wrong in certain ways. There's more weighing on you in the sense of if you get someone's paperwork wrong, that's related to their life insurance. That's related to their family. Now, in the civilian sector, depending on what it is, if you even get the opportunity to lead, you may not have such a detrimental effect to happen. And I think that also tends to be because in the civilian sector, those who are leading are usually the older in professionals, and they haven't necessarily got to the point where they passed the baton. So now you are then causing this effect that young professionals are not gaining the skills to lead. So when it is now their turn, they're kind of a little lost, and now we'll turn to, the leadership courses and hoping to implement them. But with all the other things that come along with supervision and leadership roles, sometimes that can get lost in translation. Because at the end of the day, all of it is also about people, right? How do we make sure we treat people right? How do we make sure that we can put ourselves in their shoes? Would you want someone to treat you in a certain way, like your paperwork? You don't want it to just get thrown to the side or not be organized. So that's what I like to keep in mind with anyone that I work with, is how would I feel if I was taught to do this way?
And when you've got your, if you take a veteran, for example, so do you feel that they have a particular level of skills that they can bring to the civilian workplace more easily, or that bring particular value to an organisation?
Yeah, because a lot of the veterans I do talk with, they are ready to work. They have this initiative and this energy, because now they are on, I don't want to call it the outside. Now they are in the civilian sector, and they're like, what is it that I can do? I can lead Marines. I can make sure this is done on time. I can make sure I can guide people here. So how could I fit into how can I fit into your company? That is literally what I asked my current employer that I'll be starting at when I initially saw them at a conference. I said, how can my skills fit here? I mean,
right. Is that right? Good for you, but that's very flexible. So you actually sort of, you declared it in that way and got them to think about so you're teaching people to do that?
Yeah, I'm definitely always teaching people to learn how to use their voice, because that's the biggest thing. It's something that I think others would think is small, but if you think about it, it's so big, because if you don't use your voice in the right way, then, you miss out on opportunities and you miss out on helping someone else. Because even me talking to you right now is helping someone when they hear it, when they hear my story. And then it's like a good domino effect. And that's what I always strive to do, is have that domino effect, whether it's what I'm doing in the office, whether I'm doing something in the community. It's that people are seeing you do this work and they're kind of wondering how. So now I'm going to tell you the skills how, and I'm going to continue to tell you. My tagline for my business is consistent success is not done alone. Because even people who say I'm self-made, no, there was somebody that helped you to get to where you are. Whether it's the laptop you use, you did not make that laptop. I'm either MacBook, HP, or someone else did. Like, getting down to the nitty-gritty of these details, it's very important to know that.
So I'm really intrigued because, you said you're 27, 28, you've had a successful military career, you're now helping other people, and the way you come across, your energy, you come across as very, very confident and inspiring in that way. And I wonder, have you learnt to be that way, or have you always been like that? Because quite often with people that I hear, some people don't have that same level of confidence. So, you're saying about using your voice. I suppose the question is, have you always been this way, or have you learnt to? And if you're trying to teach someone else through their career to use their voice, what would you say, or how would you help people?
I don't think I've always been this way, because it wasn't, I don't think it was something that I had to literally grow. But I also have my mom, who is a Haitian immigrant, who through her hard work and seeing how she's always helping people and doing things, and just that example of someone who came from a different country, didn't know the language, didn't have any resources, but here she is now coming to make a better life. And I'm very faith driven, and a lot of the things I do are revolving around that, which, reading the word and reading the Bible and guiding me to let me know that my inheritance for my grandchildren or my children's children is the work that I'm doing now. And so, like I said, the domino effect, and how I help people is literally, we have to start with Simon Sinek. He always talks about your why. We have to start with the foundation. If we do not start with a foundation, we are, it's pointless for us to even keep talking, because I need to know why you're doing it. Like, what is your pitch? Why should I give you any money? Why should I even hire you? Why should I even be talking to you? What is special about you, or what can you do that you feel is special that no one else does?
So would that be the root of your career coaching with somebody, trying to help them literally find their why? Would you do the Simon Sinek approach with them? Spend some time coaching them?
Yeah. So I always want to ask, why are you seeking the services now? What is so different about now than maybe yesterday, than a month ago? It's usually like a life event, or, I quit a job here, or I wanted to go into a new skill, or I just really want to learn how to talk about myself, or even preparing for like a new chapter in life. A previous client that I had on a consultation is going to start graduate school at one of a pretty prestigious graduate school, and do really great things. And the client just wanted to know, like, how is it that I start to assimilate, like, I'm sorry, how do I start to put myself in position with the subject matter that I'm in? And before we even talked about that, I was like, why are you wanting to go to graduate school, right? What is the motivation that is bringing you to this point? What the however many years of experience that you have in this sector, how will it translate, and what will be the end result? And so as we talk through that, it started to come out. We started to find, different things. And through my sessions, I always try to give a resource, whether it is a book, because we are always continuously learning. If we look at a lot of the prominent leaders in the country, or in the internationally, they always tell you they either read for 15 minutes or an hour, but they read. And so I want to make sure that my clients understand, you have to implement this and make this a habit. You have to learn to, if you want to be the subject matter expert, you have to stay abreast what's going on. If that's staying with the association that's related to your study, if that's even looking at different papers related to the work that you're doing. And so I always try to give those resources, and I give homework, because you are paying for a service. You are paying me to tell you, and to kind of align this plan with the work that you're doing. And so I want to ensure that I'm doing my due diligence.
So with that then, because you've also been studying and working, haven't you? So how has that been? And have you found synergy between the two, or has it been a challenge? I'm sure it's been busy.
It's been busy because I'm also a mom and a wife, but I definitely, I sometimes I try not to say balance, but prioritize. Mm-hmm. I know that at the end of the day, if all this was removed from me, I have my family. And so I make sure that I am doing what I need to do at home and enjoying the time with my family, and understanding the reason behind this work, right? So my son is going to see the work that I'm doing, whether it's anything published, whether it's any stories I've done, and just kind of be like, man, my mom did XYZ. Now, what is it that I can do? Not to pressure him, but for him to see that it is possible.
So you're inspiring again there, as in terms of you've got quite a serious work ethic in terms of keeping things going and prioritizing everything.
Yeah, it calls for you to be consistent. I think that's the biggest thing, is when it takes about, I believe the studies say 21 days to make a habit. Mm-hmm. We can make really great habits when we take the time to focus on maybe 1 or 2 goals. Yes. Now, when we try to do 7, you get lost. So we want to try to focus. And that's what I identify goals and objectives for my clients as we talk through it together, because we are doing this together, right? I'm not going to just tell you do this and then that's it. We're going to talk through it. We're going to use those motivational interviewing skills. How is it that we're going to do this? And you're going to answer, these questions as they follow up.
So that's another skill then. We've done a podcast on motivational interview or interviewing skills. Is that something, do you teach them how to interview well? Is that one of the things you'd also support people with in your career coaching? Find out what they want to do and why they want to do it, and also how to communicate it?
Yes, because I find that when I do talk to some people, just them communicating regularly, it kind of makes me wonder, what are you like, if you are nervous, right? If you have not practiced, not to say that you have to go through a whole interview, mock interview 10 times, but you kind of do need to think about those questions they ask you, such as, if you were to have, something go wrong, what would be the first thing that you do? Yeah. Or if, these questions, like, what is your biggest weakness, or what is your weakness? Understanding how you answer that question, not just saying, well, I'm late all the time and XYZ. You're already kicking yourself in the butt, because it's not going to work out. But really learning how to talk about what you did, talk about how you can go about making the right decision, especially aligning with the company's mission, right? Because essentially we are in a professional realm and we have to understand we are now the ambassador for that company, depending on whatever the role is.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of your career and you've moved out from one into another, what are you hoping to do next? What are your aspirations?
So next year, I will be starting a PhD program in community engagement. And I'm really excited for that. I never really imagined myself doing a PhD program, but I am very thankful that God has allowed me to follow that path. And my interest is really into financial literacy. As I've been able to do a lot of things at my age, I bought my house at 25. Me and my husband bought a house at 25. And so I just want to kind of really see what it is, especially for the African American community. What does financial literacy look like for them? Not in the sense of, I'm going to tell you what all the deficits. And that's one thing I want to learn and want to continue to talk in a way that is not deficit based. But of course, something has to be wrong for us to kind of now want to make action. But I want to move in a way that provides resources and provides the education. So if I say I don't know about my credit, okay, what is it that you don't know about your credit? And how is it, how has your family talked about it before? Because it's not enough literature deep diving into that, because financial literacy or financial wellness is very emotionally and like historically built within. So if your parents may not have been the best, then you most likely will not be the best if you don't seek out the knowledge and to continue to build.
So it's very much, again, a purpose-driven next step, as opposed to a classic. Would you actually consider yourself to be HR professional, human resources? It seems that it's almost a straddling. It's an independent role you're doing this in, is it?
Yeah, but I will be starting my HR role in actually this month. And so really taking all the skills that I have is very crucial, because when we think about some of these areas, some people usually just kind of sit on one skill and then that's it. And, I saw that on a research project I was doing with another university where they were like, well, we don't know how to engage the community. And to me, I'm just like, well, find someone who is the community leader, align with them, tell them what your mission is. Don't just go into the community and just be like, we're going to do this. We have this study. You're not going to get anybody. and that's kind of the same in a lot of sectors, especially within business. You don't just tell anybody like, here's my business, you're just going to buy it. You align yourself with the people who've been doing it for a while, and you start to continue to talk to them, and they say, you know what, I have a friend, Annette, who's been doing this business. I think you should check it out. Why will they check it out? Because they trust you.
Yeah. I trust is massive.
So it translates very well.
Yeah. So you're going to do a PhD and you're going to work in an HR role as well?
Yeah, so the PhD is on a working professional schedule. So it is not necessarily like I guess you could say a traditional where you're just mainly in school the whole time. So yeah. That's what I'll be doing fall 2021.
Fantastic. And so what is the core part of the HR role, but then what's the core part of the new job, if you like, the classic job bit of it?
Yeah. So actually I'll be doing a couple of different departments. So it'll be benefits, then we'll have recruiting. So they're kind of having you move around, but right now with COVID, I'll be starting from home. So
Right.
It'll be a little bit different. So I'm not sure what that'll look like pretty soon, but I know I'm gearing up for that. And I'm pretty excited to see this new journey.
So you're going to get sort of almost like an HR rotation.
Yes.
To whatever extent you're able to do it with COVID restrictions in place. So that's quite exciting. So you'll be able to experience all the aspects of it, whether it's administration, learning development, or recruitment, as well as your career piece that you've got going on already, I guess.
Yeah, the career piece that's on my own accord, and that has really that emerged out of the pandemic. I was already doing this type of work for people, but I never charged people. And they're like, you should make this a business. And I was just like, no, I think I'll just, and I was like, hold on, I'm taking out a lot of time to draw this stuff up. Somebody's going to pay me.
Good for you.
Because I also do nonprofit consulting, which that's another one of my specialties with my master's, because we go through board development, governance, fundraising. So I don't want to say you name it, I can do it, but I have a pretty extensive list of skills to be able to pivot.
So I'm interested because you've been so academic since leaving the military. Were you academic before you went into it?
So I was doing community college. I graduated high school. I did it for about a year, and then I joined the military. So that was my extent to kind of doing a lot of college. But now, I don't know, something about it just draws me in to continue to learn, to be in the environment. It's really refreshing. And I also want to state that once I do my research, I do not want my research to sit on someone's bookshelf. I want it to be applied to communities. I want people to really learn about this important sector because it adds to the quality of life.
I can hear your passion coming through. It's wonderful. So one, just as we kind of draw towards the end of our conversation, would you think, have there been any challenges during your career that you'd either do differently, or you'd give yourself, your younger self, some advice to do things differently? Is there anything you'd share there?
So challenge wise, I think as I was coming into the professional world was more of my confidence sometimes, and how I would like, well, I don't know if I can do this because, I haven't been in the professional world as long as my counterparts. I was in the military. That might not mean anything. So really learning not to undervalue myself, that's been my biggest challenge. Because so many people will tell me, oh no, the military is such a really good experience. Then others who may not like the military, what it stands for, they just kind of toss it to the side. But once I don't want to say I don't tell people I'm a veteran, but I kind of work up to it to kind of see. Yeah, because once I kind of continue to talk, they're like, okay, you were interesting. Then I say the veteran piece, they're like, oh, really? I didn't see that. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if I should take that as a compliment. But I think my younger self, I would just tell myself, keep your head up, really be confident, and just don't give up, because this ride so far professionally is not, I will say it's not linear. So it's not the most traditional at all, but it is my road that I'm able to still help so many people. And I'm thankful for it, because psychology is very useful in so many facets. Social work is not just about child welfare. And I think that's one of the biggest things I wanted to make sure that people understand. The social work skills and program evaluation, looking at public policy, those things. Like if you think about, I want to say Francis Perkins, and think about child labor laws, that is social work. Those were social workers. We can go even further back in history, but social work is so embedded in most of the things that we do in society, we don't even think about it. So my younger self, definitely confidence. I guess it's the same for what I just said about challenge. Just having that confidence to not giving up, because there's literally a light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't know who else you may be. That's able
wonderful.
To help with your story.
And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I think you should go run for president. Actually, it's you've got a really fantastic, an inspiring way about you, and I can't believe how much you've achieved in less. You've not even hit 30 yet. So where are you going to be in 20 years' time will be even more exciting.
I know, right? I think
and
about that all the
juggling
time.
Parenthood, and etc. So really grateful to you for joining us on the HR Uprising podcast. Would it be okay if people want to link in with you, to connect with you? We have obviously international listeners. You're in the States, but people from all sides. They reach out to you if they've listened to the podcast and want to be connected.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I'm on LinkedIn, Anette Nance, and then my website, AnetteNance.com, or if you want to send me an email, info@AnetteNance.com. I'm definitely open for dialogue, and obviously my services, and we can go from there.
Brilliant. Well, I'll put them on the bottom of the show notes as well, so that people can access it from hruprising.com if you don't already know that. So thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you for listening to the HR Uprising podcast. You can access more information, including resources or links mentioned in the show, at our website, www.hruprising.com. Also, you might want to join our LinkedIn community or tweet to us at HR Uprising. We'd love to hear from you.